What a story, Mark.
Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome on down to the Nostalgia Junction. We're back for another episode of Framewreck. It's been a couple months. I've been very busy. Matt has been very busy, but we do want to give you one last episode. I say last, not forever, but last episode for a while because I am about to board a boat for a 6-month cruise contract, and I am not going to be able to make regular Framewreck episodes. We're still figuring out the rest of the channel if that's even going to happen right now, just logistically. So we wanted to give one bad last send off for the two of us. Matt has so much great shit going on his channel, so I'm not worried. You'll still see plenty of Matt, and Matt will still keep you all entertained. But just for us, just the two of us to talk about movies that aren't even bad movies. I mean, these are the Nostalgia Junction episodes. We're just talking about movies from one of our childhoods. This episode's my childhood that we like, and just kind of just chat about them. This is going to be a little less formal, a little less taking digs at bad movies, and just kind of enjoying nostalgia and having one last little chat before I go. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't leave for 2 months because it is March.
Yeah, it's totally March.
That's when we said we do this. It's
what
March.
Are you talking about? Yeah, it's March. March is busting out all over, man. But how you doing? How's your month since we last talked been?
It's been let's see, March was fine, I'm sure. It was busy, and everything, things have been kind of busy, but I'm here. I'm ready to talk. I'm excited to get to talk to you because I haven't done it in a while. Well, a month. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yes. And those movies that we're talking about today are three, obviously, that I said from my childhood, but because of the place I'm about to be, I wanted to make them Disney movies from my childhood because Disney was such like a foundational part of my childhood. And just when thinking about, this show, I wanted to have them all be a little bit not poorly reviewed, but definitely for a time and for an audience and for an era that I feel like they're not like, we're not going to cover The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, these big movies that are like very well canonized. We're going to be talking about a little lesser known films here, but or not even lesser known, but just definitely for a specific audience, specific time, specific I can't talk. Specific generation, but the first one being the Tigger movie, which was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. The next one being Sky High, one of the first superhero movies I ever saw in theaters. And then, sorry to make people feel old out there. And then, of course, The Haunted Mansion, which was voted on by you all. You all got to vote on one. Not the one I would have picked, but I'm glad we did because I am actually going to be in Disney World 24 hours from when we record this. So I'll be able to like kind of ride it with this like fresh combo in mind, which is good. Because I haven't even thought about that movie in 2 months since I watched the movies because we're recording in May, guys. That's sorry to lift the curtain. The Wizard of Oz will see you now. But yeah, Matt, what did you think just in general watching these movies with the little added context that these are important childhood movies to your buddy Dill?
Yeah. So opening the kimono here. This is May, and so I have not watched these since March, and I've been far too busy to rewatch them, unfortunately. But it's interesting because Tigger Movie, what year that come out? 1999.
99. Yep.
1999. I was in high school, and my girlfriend at the time, her sister was a young girl.
Sorry, it might have been 2000, but either way, it was. Yeah,
I was in high school either way, and I had the girlfriend either way. Mm-hmm. And she had a young sister, and I took it over, and I expected for her sister watch it while I occupied the older sister. But we ended up watching it and loving it instead. So that was great. Sky High, I was well into adulthood when I saw that one in the theater, but I saw that one because Bruce Campbell was in it. I was like, oh, I have to see that movie, and I ended up just loving it. Like I didn't expect a whole lot from it, and I loved it. Haunted Mansion, I did not love the first time, but I've rewatched it, and so we can talk about how I feel now once we get to that movie.
I would like to go reversed because I do think I want to end on the one that started it all for me.
Okay,
So
nice.
I would like to start with Haunted Mansion because it was also the one that was voted on, so it's not the one that's fondest in my nostalgia either. I always liked it, but I was always like, it was always something that was on because it came out at the time, and usually when a Disney movie came out and you bought it on DVD, it would just be what you watched for the next few months until the next one did. So like when I was a kid, movies would occupy the space for like the whole month or two until the next one came out, to where like I watched this on repeat in 2003, but then afterwards like I didn't watch it a lot more in my teenagehood, in my tweenagehood. So it's definitely one I haven't seen since I was a little kid. But in passing years, like, I mean, Kelsey has really hyped this one up. I mean, this was obviously a nostalgic one for her too. We're the same age, but she kind of mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. So I wanted to give it another go. But it was always something where I never, this was never my favorite. It wasn't my go-to. It wasn't, my, the one that I thought was like above all the rest. Also, because the Pirates movies were coming out at that time too. Um, but similarly to the Pirates movies, it was exciting to see this ride that I got to go on Disney World kind of mythologize. The lore was deepened. I did see a lot of the references that I think if you are like a really big fan of the parks and have like that niche respect for the Haunted Mansion ride, you can kind of like see the little Easter eggs here and there, but they also still found a way to like tell a more modernized story with a more mythological lore. So I did dig it as a kid. And I still think watching it back, it doesn't work as well for me just because I don't have those nostalgia goggles. So I'm able to see all the kind of faults with it, but it is something that I still enjoy watching. Like I had a good time watching it. It doesn't scare me, and but it doesn't have to. It's made for kids. But Matt, like I want to hear what your journey is because this is the one I think you had the biggest change on, or at least the one that
Hmm.
you were going in already not loving, whereas the other two
Hmm.
you didn't feel like you had to redeem. But like we've
Right,
talked about Framewreck Redemption, which is not what this is, but
right.
how does this hold up now?
Okay, so I am clearly like opposite on this altogether, just because number one, I've never been to the parks, so
Hmm.
I have no connection to it. The Pirates movies had just come out, or the first pirate movie had just come out. I think. I don't think the second one had come out yet,
Yeah,
right?
the first Pirates was early 2003, and this was like or
Yeah,
summer, and
yeah,
this was like
right.
winterish or holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh so it's like, okay, so they're going after the rides, and I was a little excited about it. Plus Eddie Murphy uh hadn't quite lost his step yet at this point. So I was
Mhm.
like, Eddie Murphy is in it. I loved Pirates, so I'm like, okay, this is gonna be for me. And I did not enjoy it. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't it just did like it didn't work for me on a lot of levels. Uh, so going back to it, I was not excited, and especially because of where you're going, Mister Earned His Ears I was like, I can't just shit on this movie. And so
Yeah.
I went into it watching it hoping that I would enjoy it, and I did.
Good.
I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great, anything like that. But I also laughed a few times, like, which was more than I laughed originally when I originally saw it. Um, I found some things in it that I was like, okay, this is pretty good, and there was a little bit of suspense in there that I didn't
Mhm.
really get the first time around. So yeah, it was much better for me on rewatch than it was originally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think, it's hard because I think at the time too, and I as obviously can't speak to this because I was only 5, but when this movie came out, Pirates had just came out and everyone was like, oh, they were already prejudging Pirates. Pirates came out, ended up being a hit, and everyone was like, okay, so this works. So Haunted Mansion's gonna be great. And I think that's the problem is it had to live in Pirates' shadow. And I think if Pirates was bad, people would have written this off from the get-go. But because Pirates was great, they all had expectations that this would still
Mhm.
be on that level. And I don't think it's on that level, but I think on its own level it works. I mean, especially looking at the new one, and I know you watched that as well. I just I don't love that one. And I think part of it also has to do with the physical atmosphere of it all too. Like this film, you could tell their sets, they're really detailed, really specific about the tone and the vibe and the spookiness. Like I love the cobwebs everywhere and the candlelit spaces. Like yes, there's some CGI and it doesn't look great nowadays, but the CGI is all the ghost stuff. But like the actual structure of the mansion, I mean, that's why you go to the one in the parks is because you love the atmosphere of it. Like you don't really care about the storytelling. You like the storytelling, but there's really no story to it. It's just kind of walking through this really interesting space. And I think that's the thing is like this movie really understands that sense of space really well.
Yeah.
That makes makes it enjoyable for me now. Like that's the thing I still enjoyed so much now, is just the production design and the way they just kind of utilized all the atmosphere to its best advantage, in my
That,
opinion.
that's interesting because like, and that I think that does that does affect the viewing, because as someone who's never been there, like
Hmm.
that stuff, I'm looking for movie backgrounds, not backgrounds that feel like, you know, the atmosphere of the park. So it does kind of, it is a little bit different to me. I will say that you mentioned the new one. So they made, then they made the Muppet Haunted Mansion,
Hmm.
which I keep bumping this. I don't know if you can hear that, but anyway, um I'm a massive Muppets fan. So like I was very excited about that one, and then I watched it and I liked it, but I didn't like love it. And I was like, maybe I just don't love this setting. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is. And then I watched the new one. I watched after I watched this one, I went and watched the new one because I was like, I'm gonna want to talk about all of them, just kind of see if maybe it's the if it's the
But
setting
maybe the
or what it
lore is just
is.
not for you,
Yeah,
because
maybe the
there's
lore
a
just
lot of,
isn't for me.
yeah, like
You
people like
know,
with Western genre or with
you're
just
right.
like certain stories, like Robin Hood stories, or like
Right.
sometimes they just don't click.
Well, and I love ghost stories, and I love stories about creepy mansions. So like it. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I watched the new one, um, and I'm among the 38% on that one because I loved that one. I remember as soon as I was done with it, I was like, oh, I was like having a crisis. I was like, everybody hates this. My friends all hate it. I know that maybe not all of them hate it, but they did not like it. I am about to tell everyone I like this movie. I'm gonna have to hand in my cinephile card. Like, but you know, that's the fun thing about movies, is that everybody has a different thing they're looking for, has different taste. So that one I really liked. I thought it was funny. I know a lot of people were like, it wasn't funny at all. I thought it was funny, but maybe it just appealed to my sense of humor. People said it wasn't scary. I actually thought the tension in it was really good. But then I'm also looking at it from like a creepy mansion standpoint, and that stuff really hit for me.
Right.
Also, have never been. Also, I liked, and this is I think something that people didn't like quite as much, and I did like this. I liked that it didn't feel like an adaptation of the ride. It felt like a story about a haunted mansion.
Right.
Um, because again, I've never been there, so it's like I, uh, as I'm watching it, I loved that it didn't feel like sets. You know,
Yeah.
I loved that it kind of felt like an authentic ghost story, and I could see some of the threads from having seen different versions of it, but and so like some of those things I was like, okay, so there's this person and stuff like that, but overall I was just like, that was just a good time. Like I really liked that movie, and I'm the takeaway here is I'm glad there's a version of this that I really like.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, and that's, I think, with the biggest thing with the nostalgia of it all. If I had seen it when I was an adult for the first time, maybe I wouldn't like this one as much. Maybe I'd like it more. Maybe I'd like it less. Who knows? Also, the Eddie Murphy of it all. Like back then, Eddie Murphy was the guy from Shrek and Daddy Daycare, not the guy who had like years and years on SNL and movies
Mhm.
that you fell in love with. So it's also like, I know a lot of people think this is one of his lesser ones. Like this kind of started that trend, where it's like he's just doing this for the money. He doesn't care anymore. His soul's not in it.
Mhm.
But I really do think he is for this. I could tell he's having a little bit of fun, because also they at the time probably also thought they might have a hit. They're watching the success of Pirates, and yes, they had filmed this before Pirates came out, but they probably heard that Pirates was going to be a big deal, and they probably were like, you know what, this could be like the new thing. Like the MCU wasn't a thing, maybe this could have been the MCU. It
Right,
wasn't
right.
ever going to be, but because after this, you don't get another one for a while. I mean, they did the Country Bears
Country
one, then
Bears, yeah.
and then it was like a few decades before we got like Jungle Cruise and Tomorrowland and all these other movies aside from the pirate sequels, of course. So it's honestly, I wish they would give it another try, just because I really love the idea of taking something that has no story, because these rides, they're not story based rides, they're more atmospheric, and then like trying to deepen the mythology by telling a story, and that's what Pirates
Mhm.
did so well. That's what I think this film with Eddie Murphy does pretty well. But I really wish they had taken another stab at it with something else. But apparently Jungle Cruise sucks, so I don't know. Maybe it's just not ever going to work the same way Pirates did. You just can't strike gold twice. But we do have Pirates, which is awesome. Anything in
I'll say
particular?
this.
Yeah.
I'll say this about Jungle Cruise because you mentioned it. I don't think it sucks. I don't. I don't think about it at all.
Right. Which is a
I think
disservice
it's.
for Jungle Cruise. Yes.
I think it's fine. But
Yeah.
again, never been on the Jungle Cruise, so
Right.
it's.
I We'll get you
I
there
think it's.
someday.
I think it's fine. I thought I'm not. I should probably finish that phrase because I just said a dirty word.
You're good.
Country Bears. I'm not going to talk much about because I only saw it once, and I probably didn't give it the fair shake that I
I
should
was
have.
about to say I listened to a Screen Drafts, one of my favorite podcasts, the other day. They did a ranking of the live action adaptations of rides. So it was Haunted Mansion, Pirates, Country Bears, Tower of Terror, all those, and then Mission to Mars. And then Country Bears ended up being number one over the Pirates movie. So I really do want to rewatch it, hopefully reappraise that, because I haven't seen Country Bears since I was a kid, and the bears freaked me out. So I think now
Mm,
watching it, there's a lot of really funny, like meta dark humor that I've heard is really funny. So maybe I'll have to watch
mm,
that. Maybe we'll do that for Framewreck Redemption someday,
maybe. Yeah.
if we both decide to redeem it. But because
Yeah.
it's reviews, but like I've heard like a lot of reappraisal for it.
Nice.
And then we gotta get you to the parks so we can
Yeah.
experience some of this with our own eyes, and then do a real comparison, authentic.
Heck yeah. Also, when it comes, you were talking about Eddie Murphy. I used to be one of those people who were like, this is where it started, the
Mhm.
downward spiral of him, because he kind of had a rough time until Dolomite is My Name, and then he did Dolomite is My Name, and then he did that incredible episode of SNL, like back to
Yeah,
back,
yeah, it's
and
good.
and then it was like, all right, he's back, but uh, before, like, from here till like he had a brief Dreamgirls situation where he was in a serious movie
Almost won an
and
Oscar. Yeah.
yeah, almost won an Oscar. And then it was still the downward spiral, so he never really
Hmm.
got that reappraisal for it.
Yeah.
So I was one of those people until I rewatched it and I was like, he's actually pretty good in this. Like I feel like he's being the Eddie Murphy I love. I just didn't appreciate it enough back then, probably because I hadn't experienced Meet Dave.
Mm, I haven't either, so I don't even know if I want to. But
You
anything
know,
else from Haunted Mansion? I know we
no,
talked more about just your change attitudes, the new one, some atmospheric stuff, but it's hard to pinpoint actual plot stuff because it is deep in lore, and I think that's almost one
mhm,
of the disservices of the movie. Is it almost goes a little too deep into the lore, where sometimes it can just let loose and have fun, and when it does, it's the most fun. When they're not
right.
trying too hard to force exposition.
Right. No, I don't have anything else to say about it.
Cool.
I think we've covered
Yeah.
it pretty well.
Yeah. But let's talk about the one that we both love, like one that is not one I haven't seen since I was a kid because I watch it
Right.
pretty regularly. You've talked about watching it regularly, which is Sky High.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to watch this is because like we'll never have the opportunity to watch it on the show because it's not negatively reviewed. We can't redeem it. It's not so bad it's a good movie, so we'll never do it on Framewreck. And then like any other show, it doesn't fit. Like it's on the Oscar
Right.
show. It's not probably not going to come up on a lot of drafts. So I was like, this is the perfect time to talk about it because this is without a doubt better than 90% of the MCU. It's one of the most delightful, fun, just great times at the theaters, at least when I remembered it, and then great time at home as well. But one
Mhm.
of my favorite superhero movies, Sky High. Matt, what do
Mm.
you think of Sky High?
Again, I love Sky High. I saw it, as I mentioned before. I saw it because Bruce Campbell was in it. I'm a massive Bruce Campbell fan, and so I saw it for that reason because I knew that he was in it. But my love for it transcended that. He's barely in the movie, so like I
Hmm.
did never like that didn't have to sustain me. What ended up like sustaining me, and the things that I love about this, and rewatching it felt the exact same way. Because again, like you said, we both have watched this several times, so it's not like I was rewatching it and rediscovering anything. Like, but rewatching it kind of a more critical eye because usually I'm just watching it for pleasure. So I'm when I'm watching it here with the critical eye, I'm thinking the best thing about this movie is that it doesn't shy away from anything, any of its anything. It doesn't shy away from being a superhero movie. It's unabashedly a superhero movie. Before that was like cool to be just a comic book superhero type
Hmm.
movie because at that point we were only making gritty. We were only making gritty, realistic comic book movies, and
Hmm.
so like it doesn't shy away from that. It doesn't shy away from the fact that it is made for um, families. It's a family film. It doesn't shy away from the campiness and the ridiculousness. Maybe we can do it on Camp Film Camp someday.
Hmm.
Uh, it doesn't shy away from anything. It just embraces everything about it and it executes it absolutely magnificently.
Yeah.
I love this. I love the movie.
Yeah. And one of the things, and I think this is just from like working with Disney that I've really appreciated is just how much they care about the little details and the world building. It's really about creating a sense of atmosphere and world, which we kind of talked about with Haunted Mansion, but especially here as well. Like, just the way the lore is thought out, just the way they've kind of really created this totally separate world and community of superheroes that feels authentic and feels new. It's kind of like the Toy Story, thing when you watch Toy Story, where you're just like, you just believe the rules automatically because they do such with all Pixar movies where they do such a good job just kind of like telling you this is how it is, and you don't have to really question a lot of the logic. Even
Mhm.
Cars, it usually takes you 2 or 3 viewings before you start to actually question, okay, how do they make the cars, or do humans
Right.
make the cars? Do cars, that whole cobweb
If you'd like
rabbit
to
hole.
know if you'd like to know more about that, go to Maddie Loves Movies. The Dylan's Pixar Theory Cinema Soapbox episode lays it all out. It's brilliant.
Yes, but it is one of those things though where I think like Disney does such an ability to just get you on board with the rules and not question it at the start and just like be along for the ride. Like this is the set circumstances, and now you can just enjoy living in this world, being with these characters, and I just love the way they use that to their advantage. I mean, it's a little X-Men-ish, just the way they kind of talk about like the heroes and sidekicks. Feels
Mhm.
very like mutant focused in a way, but again, it doesn't feel too heavy. Like you said, like this is the same year as Batman Begins and Superman Returns. It came out a year after, I think, and I think this is much better than those two because it does have that like kind of swashbuckling feel you want from a superhero movie, at least this kind. If
Mhm.
everyone's wearing colorful outfits, like make the film colorful and fun as well. And I think that's what a lot of films have lost. Where like Captain America now, the shades of Captain America, it's not blue and red. It's like this really dark blue and this really dark red. It doesn't feel comic-y anymore, which is a style and a choice, but also
Right.
like there's something so refreshing about this compared to something like The Winter Soldier, for example, where it's so based in realism and gritty and realistic, and all the
Right.
colors are muted.
Right. That's kind of what was so refreshing about the Fantastic Four First Steps trailer
Trailer.
is
Hmm.
that it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like they weren't afraid of the four colors. And that's the thing is that for a while and the Dark Knight franchise is one of my favorite superhero things ever. I love
Oh
all
yeah,
three of those movies. I love them.
likewise.
It I so this is not negative on that, but because of that, they went into they tried to steer away from the four colors too much. Like we can't do a four color comic book.
Hmm.
We gotta make it real. And X-Men started that when they put them all in black, and they made a little joke where maybe you want yellow spandex, like okay, but they that was a thing. They tried to stay away from that because they're like that's going to be ridiculous. You get to this movie, it's not ridiculous. Like
Hmm.
you watch this movie, there's nothing. You don't ever feel like no one would ever wear that. Like it all
Yeah.
seems very natural and real, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate
and then when they dress more dark and gritty, like the one character who has like fire powers, it makes sense because he is the darker one. He's the one who's got a little bit more
that.
of an emo thing going on. War
Warren
and
Peace,
Peace,
which is the greatest
one of the
name.
best names ever. I mean, like some of these names, I just gotta to list them off. Will Stronghold, um, Steve Stronghold, Josie Stronghold, Layla Williams, Coach Boomer, Principal Powers, Ron Wilson, Bus Driver, Magenta, Zach Braun, Zach Attack, Warren Peace. Like all these names are just so creative. And the thing is, they all look distinct too. Like Layla has the green, she's the Earth Girl. Like yes, it's on the nose, but it creates a really memorable film because you can easily distinguish all these characters. No characters feel unimportant. They all feel memorable in their own way, even if they're on screen for 2 minutes versus like 2 hours. And the one who's the most unique is Will, but I think that's on purpose, to make him the
Mhm.
most basic, I guess, which also aids in the storytelling. But I really just love just how everything is designed, and the action. I think the action is actually really well done. Like I think the
Mhm.
powers are really creative, just the way they make use for like the guinea pig girl, who you think it's like a little drive-by joke, but it's not. It actually has a function. That's what I love about this film, is that like every little piece of storytelling matters later, even if you don't think it does. Like all the little hints at Gwen being the villain is always so fun to watch on repeat because
Mhm.
it's right there in front of you and you don't realize, like the yearbook and shit like that, where you're like, oh my gosh, of course, which I love, and watching those seeds planted.
Yeah, speaking of Gwen, we all got to fall in love with Mary Elizabeth.
Of course.
What's her
Winstead.
last name? Winstead.
Winstead.
God,
Yeah.
I was like, why did I feel her last name? Yeah, we all got to fall in love with Mary Elizabeth Winstead in this movie as well. I'm sure she'd been in other things before this. I don't know, but this is
Was
where we
this? I
kind of
think this
all
was
discovered
a
her.
few years before Death Proof. Yeah, and then and then Scott Pilgrim after that, and then the Thing
Yep.
remake. Then she really took off. 10 Cloverfield Lane, Birds of Prey, Spectacular Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people went over Scott Pilgrim or Birds of Prey, but I
This
mean,
is the
this was
first.
this
This is
was
where
my
I discovered
yeah,
her.
this
Yeah.
was my awakening of Mary Elizabeth of Mew, who is married to Ewan McGregor. So Mew and
Yes,
you, which is really cool.
that
Um,
is.
Ewan and Mewan. but yeah, it's a shame Mike Mitchell hasn't done more like live action movies, because he's done a
Hmm.
lot of animation. So he did like Shrek Forever After, Kung Fu Panda 4, Lego Movie 2, Alvin Chipmunks Chipwrecked, Trolls. Like it feels like he always comes in if an animated series needs another movie, and they're like, yeah, Mike can do it. But some of those movies are good, some of them are not. But I really do wish he would go back to do something like this, because I think he could have like a Joe Johnston career where he does kind of, where Joe Johnston did the Rocketeer, took a little time, and came back with a Captain America movie. Like I'd love to see this guy's Captain America movie, but I
Yeah.
don't think he needs it either, because I feel like he did perfectly here. But I just would love to see if he has any more in the tank. Like this movie could get a sequel, and I'd be down for it.
Based on the network, the movies you just listed off from him, dude needs to come back to superhero live action.
Right? Yeah, I don't even know the last live action movie he did. What is it called?
Well, Chipwreck is technically live action,
Yeah,
but it's
Deuce
mostly animated.
Bigelow, and then he did Surviving Christmas, which we covered on this show. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
which
like,
I do like.
yeah, but this was his last live action film he did, because those two movies were before. So
Yeah.
maybe he just needs to return to the genre, because it really does work. And I do think, just having gone through decades of MCU and DCU and all the superhero movies that they're trying so hard to like, make these big franchises and connectivity and all that. Like it's nice that this one still exists as its own little pocket to kind of be
Mhm.
its own thing. Yeah,
Well,
but
because like it was going to get a sequel and a series, I think,
oh,
which
was
would have
it?
been awesome.
Mm,
But I'm completely okay with the
sorry,
Dylan's.
ignore
Dylan's
that.
been in Canada for
Oh,
3 months, 2 months,
sorry, I
and
just spilled my
he already
water all over
doesn't.
my face. I didn't realize I drank it that fast. Anyway, continue along. Other things about Sky High. What do you love? Who's your favorite character?
Um, my favorite character is probably War and Peace. His name's cool, but he's also like I've always been into the broody superhero guy. I was a Raphael guy when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was a Wolverine guy originally. Then everybody fell in love with Wolverine, and I was like, he was mine first, but whatever.
Yeah.
I was into Wolverine. I'm always into the broody, uh, rebel superhero guy, and so War and Peace is probably my favorite. Although uh, 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 Kurt Russell and
Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston. God damn
Yeah.
it, I forgot.
I was about to
Rest in
say, this
peace,
is the
Kelly
second
Preston.
second Framewreck Nostalgia Junction that I have chosen a Kelly Preston mothered movie, because
What
she
was
was
the other one?
the mother in Cat in the Hat.
Oh yeah, that's right. And
I
I'm
think I have
sure
a
I
thing
talked
for
about how
Kelly
much I
Preston.
loved her at the time.
Yeah, I think she was like my growing up, my mama crush. You know what
Right.
I mean?
I'm sure during Cat in the Hat, I talked about how much I love Kelly Preston, but I do love Kelly Preston. Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
Rest in peace.
Um, but I think they are incredible in as the parents in this
Mhm.
movie, like because and that's a thing about this movie that I absolutely love, is not only the way that because you have this superhero story, but you also have this very real that and relatable coming of age story. So you've got these parents that are superheroes but feel very relatable to a person's parents. I assume I didn't grow up with the whole nuclear family thing, but that's the ideal for me.
Right.
Was what they looked like. You've got this kid who was an outcast in his high school and has a bunch of outcast friends. That was me. And so like all of that feels very relatable and tells a very true and real story that doesn't feel like it gets bogged, like it doesn't feel like it's bogging down the superhero story,
Right.
and it doesn't feel like it's getting bogged, that story is getting bogged down by
Mhm.
the superhero story. So like
Yeah.
they are working so well cohesively, and you know me, you both of us, we love coming of age movies, and so that's
Yeah.
probably why we love this movie so much, because
Yeah.
it's a really it's all
Right.
not only is a superhero movie, it's also a great coming of age movie.
Yeah, and I love the whole like idea of it being an origin story, but because it's his origin story, but everyone around him is either like, they all have their powers, they've all figured it out. So it's not just solely focused on his one, like him coming to terms with his powers, and then he gets them pretty quickly. It's not like the whole movie, like if the whole movie was spent with him trying to figure out his powers, and at the very end he got them, or at the very end he realized he didn't have them, and that was okay. Like I like how he gets them halfway through, so it's not the whole movie spent on this origin aspect, and they can actually have a real story, which is the relationship and then the parent dynamic and the legacy, which I think is more interesting than just like a basic origin story. But I do like how it does kind of have that X-Men feeling of like, what if I'm not like all the other kids, which is a really big queer theme in a lot of
I was
superhero
about to
films.
say
Yeah.
it has a queer parallel, even
Mhm.
if it in the end it does make him like like everyone else, but he doesn't turn his back on his community, which which makes it all okay. But yeah,
Mhm.
the first half of this movie feels very queer coded. So I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, well, that's Sky High. I'm sure we could talk hours and hours and hours upon it. Maybe we'll do it someday on Film Camp. That'd be fun. But we do have to move on to our final film, which is the first film I ever saw in theaters, which is the Tigger movie, which I don't remember in theaters. Obviously, the first film I remember seeing in theaters is Monsters Inc. But Tigger movie is what my parents have told me the first film I ever saw in theaters. So it's like it's a very foundational one for me. Also, I just have always been drawn to these characters. The Pooh characters have always meant a lot to me just because all of them are so different. So you feel like you need one every step of the way. Like, okay, today I feel like Eeyore, today I feel like Pooh, today I feel like Tigger. Like you never really. It's like the Inside Out thing where you kind of have to use like them all in a balance with one another, which I've always kind of appreciated. Like this was like my Inside Out, just these movies growing up as a kid. But yeah, what do you think of the Tigger movie, Matt? I know you've mentioned why you had seen it and how you first watched it,
Right.
but what do you think on rewatch? Since this is
Well,
the most child skewed,
right. It is. So last time we had talked about that, like I was a Winnie the Pooh fan that I used to watch the animated The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh or whatever. There was also live action, which I think that I was wrong about because we had decided that was Book of Pooh, but I think that came after my time, and that I was
Mhm.
thinking of the Dumbo live action puppet movie or series. Anyway, not important. I did watch a lot of Winnie the Pooh stuff growing up, and so when this came out, that's probably why I was so attentive to it because Eeyore and Tigger are like my two sides. I am loud and obnoxious, but I also get really depressed and sad a lot. So like I
Mm.
have like those are my two sides, and I married Rabbit. Or so it's
Cool.
um but it's yeah, so I do have a connection to those characters a lot. And rewatching it this time, the funny thing is that it's still a good time and I
Mhm.
still enjoy it. Um I think I got everything I needed out of it before, so I didn't get anything new out of it, but it
Yeah.
did remind me of how many things I've taken from that movie and have used for 20 years or more.
Mm.
Uh, I say exactly all the time.
Really?
Yes. Um, I call my kids Buddy Bear, and I didn't know why until I watched this, and I was like,
Wow.
"That's what Tigger calls Pooh."
Wow.
um, there's actually, and I would have had a better list if this was actually March, because there were a few others where I was like, I used to, I say those lines, like I say those things just in my daily life,
Mhm.
and I didn't know, I didn't remember exactly why I said all of those things. There's one major one that I'm forgetting, and maybe I'll think about it throughout the thing, but or maybe it'll come to me. But yeah, so that was the big takeaway I got this time was just like, wow, this movie had this apparently a really big effect on me that it like
Yeah.
transcended the screen into just my life. But overall, it's a very relatable story that I think is really sweet. I'm glad I watched it with my kids, and they also really enjoyed it. Well, the 13-year-old bounced like Tigger about 10 minutes in because he's like, this isn't for me. But the other two really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was me just reliving it was like, oh wow,
Mhm.
I remember this now.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I probably haven't watched it since I was around the age of, like, maybe 3 or 4. Like, really, this
Mm,
was like, once I stopped watching this VHS, I don't think I put it much it really is one of those movies where, yeah, you watch it and moments come back to you, but just like they're old familiar friends, even if you rewatching it for the 10 millionth time or the 10th or the first or the second, like it's just such a welcoming bunch of characters. And that's why I think they've endured the test of time so well, not just because they do embody like anxiety, depression, all these like really
right.
meta things, but like, no, I really do think that's just a really well colored bunch of characters. Everyone has a really distinct personality. And I really do connect, especially with Tigger, because a lot of movies have that problem where, you put the side character who's meant to be the comedic relief, front and center, and more than often than not, it doesn't work. Look at Cars 2. Look at a lot of examples where I feel like if you get too much of one thing, it can be too much, and that's why Pooh is such a good catalyst because he is very mellow. Whereas you put Tigger front and center, you're expecting it to be this like energetic, smoothie, and you're sipping on it, and you can't get through more than 2 sips. But I do think it works really well because you actually get a softer side of a character that you
Mhm.
never get in any other Pooh movies because he's never the focus, so he's always the comedic relief. Here he is front and center to be that kind of emotional catalyst for the audience too. And you get a lot of these emotions that I don't think you would have otherwise gotten. I mean, it reminds me of a Goofy movie in that way, where like we're watching a character who has always served one purpose. Now we're seeing all these different colors and shades of him, which I really, really appreciate. And I do think that that's what really struck me about this movie on rewatch was just how much they made him such a well-rounded character when otherwise he is pretty one note because he can be and has to be. It's like that's his function is to be Tigger, this big jolt of energy that busts in the room. But I do think giving him some actual personality and well-rounded and feelings and emotions, it really did make for a really delightful watch, and I'm glad I watched it because obviously it left an impression on me too because I guess I kept going to the movie theaters, and now here we are. So I guess it went well. I mean, they didn't say it was a traumatic movie going experience, and if it was, I probably wouldn't have seen Monsters Inc. as soon as I did afterwards. So because that only
Right.
came out the next year. So, but that's really all I have to say about it. I mean, there's not a lot else because it is such a sweet and simple movie. But anything else that you could think of for Tigger movie?
I really dig the themes in this movie. Like, as I said, I love that kids have access to these type of movies that don't have to be like they don't have to be super adventurous movies or anything like
Hmm.
that. Like, they could have really good, important themes, and that they are entertaining. And that's one thing I really loved about this. I will say that I have also seen like I continued watching the Pooh movies after this. I
Oh,
really
good.
like Piglet's Big Movie.
Hmm.
It's kind of similar in structure to
Hmm.
this one, but I do enjoy it. Fun thing about that one is I
Is
took
it
the
a fun
VH
thing?
well, I took the VHS tape of that movie of Piglet's Big Movie to the same little sister. Said, "Oh, this came out. You should watch it." And I worked at the video store, so like it was early. Like none of her friends could see it yet. And I took it to her, and she looked at it, and she went, "Oh, thanks." And I was like, "Did I not notice that she got too old for this? Oh
Right.
no!"
Hey,
And then I
2
watched it,
for a
and she
kid,
didn't.
2 or 3 years, yeah, that makes a difference. Because yeah, I also remember Piglet's Big Movie, and I think that one I was consciously, like I remember consciously going to the theater for that one because I think it was a theatrical release. Because that's the thing too,
Mhm.
is, like, they used to put their, like, home video stuff on theatrical for a lot of
Mhm.
this era. Even, like, some of the sequels, like Peter Pan's sequel, The Neverland, Return to Neverland was in theaters. Jungle Book 2 was in theaters. So, like, there was a period of time where you could see pretty much every Disney movie in theaters. Now they have so many things they can't put everything in theaters, but yeah, like I mean, this home video, like this was the era where just I would just wear out the home videos for these
Mm.
movies. So I hope that Piglet's Big Movie got some use at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
do you have a favorite of the team? You said you relate most to Eeyore and Tigger, but like, do you have a favorite? Are they your favorites? You would
Well,
say?
I also suffer from uh chronic anxiety. So I do have a little bit of the piglet
Okay.
well, I have a lot of that, but mine is more debilitating, and it leads me more
Eeyore.
toward an Eeyore.
Mhm.
My anxiety
Yeah, because Eeyore's
does I
always
do
been my favorite, and I don't know if it's
yeah.
subconsciously because I feel the same things, or if I'm just like I just always like his vibe. I'm just always like, oh,
What I
Eeyore,
love
sweet
about
sweet
Eeyore
little guy.
is that he's always sad, and he has such low self-esteem, but he always rolls with it. Like, not only does he always roll with it, and like just kind of is like uh, d- doesn't want to be a bother to anybody, which sucks to hit for him. But he is always very positive with his friends, or accepting of what's going on.
Mhm.
But I love that his friends always try to help him, and that as someone who suffers from that kind of a thing, it always I always love when it's right, and that you get this in all
Yeah.
of their adventures. They're all really about one of them going through something and the friends needing to help them. But I love that about Eeyore. Tigger and Eeyore are my favorites. I love them all though. I've
Mhm.
always aspired to be Owl, but I do notice on rewatch as an adult, Al's a little bit of a dick.
Yeah.
And
But again, he leaves some funny bits. Like I love when he
yeah,
just starts talking and Rue is like trashing the place with all the and then or it's Tigger trashing the place, but like all the paintings fall or whatever.
right.
And Rue's watching, and yeah, I also love the Rue Tigger relationship. I think that's really a
Me too.
sweet one because the whole thing is that it's Kangan and Rue, but I love that they give Rue some agency to like have his own relationships, his own journey in some of these movies.
Mhm.
I think the Springtime with Rue is like all about him. So and Heffalump movie as well. So yeah, I love that they let other characters be in the spotlight, not just Pooh, because Pooh is such a comedic relief as well. Like he feels like he shouldn't be the lead of a story because he is just that really funny kind of side character. But I guess Christopher Robin is the protagonist in a way, even though it's never really his adventure. But that's why I
Yeah.
like it's never really one single protagonist. They always kind of shift off. It's never. I mean, Pooh would be the one, but even then, like I feel like they're all kind of the funny supporting sidekick, and
Right.
that's unique in a team effort. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's it for Tigger movie for me.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else, Matt. I mean, this was a really
No.
nice discussion. It was short, but I think it's because these movies are short and sweet, and they get to the point. I mean, we don't really have many criticisms of them, and even then, we're just kind of celebrating these movies that made me who I was as a Disney kid and now a Disney adult. But yeah, anything else, Matt, on this episode?
Not for this. This has been amazing. Getting to talk to you. I'm gonna miss you so much while you're gone, but I'm so excited for whatever happens in December. Maybe if we,
We'll
hopefully,
see.
we'll see. But so we're not going to be able to plug new, the next episode yet because we
Mhm.
don't know when or what that's going to be. I do promise it's going to be something bad. We're going to get back to bad. So,
Yes,
so
we got the
if you'll
summer of
be looking,
Shyamalan coming at some point. Yeah,
yeah, at
so
some point we
in the
got Summer
future.
of Shyamalan coming, but yeah, we're gonna do something bad when we come back. So
That's
so
right.
just be ready for that.
Yes. Well, it's always been a pleasure talking to you, Matt, and we will be back before you all know it. But thank you all for joining us along the ride. And if this is the last Framewreck Nostalgia Junction for a while, we hope you are able to settle in and enjoy some of your favorite movies as often as we have here on the show. 3 months now of doing this, it's been a real treat to kind of just
Mhm.
tap into our childhoods again and watch these movies. And if you have favorite Disney movies from your childhood nostalgia, let us know down below. Otherwise, that's it for me. That's it for Matt. And Matt, you want to bring up your other channel real quick, just so people
Yeah,
can
you
find
can
you?
find me on YouTube at Maddie Loves Movies.
Woo.
Uh, I'm doing a series, a weekly series right now, 5225. I'm watching uh, every week. It's a new theme. Um, I don't know when this comes out, but either just released or will be releasing soon an episode about the streets of LA, and that's all about movies that are named after streets in Los Angeles.
Ah, I wish I have some ideas. Are you thinking of neighborhoods as well?
I think that I am also going to try to do
Okay.
neighborhoods also. Yeah.
Chinatown. Sorry, love that movie, but yeah, that's
I
the
do
obvious
too,
one.
but I did watch it fairly recently,
True,
but not
true.
this year yet,
But
so I
hey,
don't know.
you've got a Mulholland Drive, you got a Sunset Boulevard. I'm sure you'll be fine. But
Yeah.
thank you all so much for watching. Check out Maddie Loves Movies. Check out my channel. I have one little video coming out soon because I have a movie coming out next month, Band on the Run. So you're gonna see a little behind the scenes talk with me and some of the directors from that movie very shortly. And then we got Picture This coming this week as well. So there's still gonna be some videos trickling in the next in the near future. And then you can see Matt and Chad and Kelsey and Zach manning the TikTok while I'm gone. They start tomorrow, so it's going to be very fun. I'm going to start to see their videos flood the Google Drive, and can't wait to see what they have ready up their sleeves. But thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
What a story, Mark.